Today, it is a privilege and honor to welcome one of the pioneers in natural product research, Professor Rolf Müller. Professor Müller is the recipient of the 2024 Tu Youyou Award for his internationally recognized work towards the development of innovative bioactive substances to combat antimicrobial resistance. And with that, thank you, Professor Müller, for being here, and congratulations on winning this award.
Thank you so much. Yeah, happy to have you. I studied pharmacy quite a while ago, and already during the pharmacy studies I became very much interested in natural products, initially plant natural products, and then I started my PhD working on plant natural products, but this was at the time when there was no genomic setting yet, but you could see it at the horizon, right? And you could already see that genetic and genomic tools for bacteria were almost there, whereas for plants it was still a long way to go, which is different today. Right? So, and this is why I then decided during my PhD to move into bacterial natural products, and had a postdoc in Seattle in Heinz Floss lab, where I moved into actinomycetes, which is still the predominant source of natural products. I learned how to handle them. And then, as for many people after the postdoctoral stay, you need to make a decision for your career. Is it industry? Is it something independent in academia? And I think for me, the main turning point was then to figure out what alternative resources are there, which ones may not be that well studied and offer a lot of opportunities. And this is where I got to know myxobacteria. I guess we will talk about them a bit more, and this has become a passion over the years. And we continue working on natural products from various resources, but the main project focuses on myxobacteria since then. Yeah. And then I went back to Germany and started working at a biotechnology institute in Braunschweig, where we set up genetic methods for several myxobacteria. Actually, the groups of Reichenbach and Höfle had started a program there years ago, but no genetics, no genomics. And that was a decisive time for me as a junior group leader, and from there I came here. So from there I came here initially to a university position here at Saarland, and at that time, this was 2003, at that time we didn't have any Helmholtz here, and I think the main turning point then in my career came when we were able to set up a new institute belonging to the Helmholtz Association for Pharmaceutical Research. This is where we are now, and that was funded in 2009. We didn't have Helmholtz here on site at all. In my previous institution in Braunschweig, they had strong infection research, and our local university had a strong pharmacy department, so we decided to merge them within the Helmholtz Association, which is an extra university research organization. And then it obviously became much more than just natural products, so the institute now has a large medchem department, it has a large biocheminformatics department and drug delivery, and it's almost 300 people, so that's quite different, and this is inbuilt in pharmaceutical sciences. Yeah, it's always difficult to predict the future, right? But we've seen a lot of changes. We've seen a lot of changes starting with the ability to sequence things on the large scale. Now I think most of the changes that are coming up are in how do we handle all these data. Yeah. This is also why, in the last 5 years we recruited 4 PIs from bio and chem informatics to make the team capable of using their technologies. So I think You would assume everybody is doing this today, right? And I think everybody is writing about it or writing grants about it, but if you talk to people on site, almost everybody would tell them it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
Because informatics and natural sciences, they speak largely different languages. And that's something we are experiencing, but since we have the PIs on the same floor and the PhD students work together, it's moving. But I would have hoped it would move faster, but it's really because of the different languages. So you need some informaticians to understand what a biosynthetic gene cluster is, and you need some of our guys to understand how the bioinformatics, not just the tools, but also how the developments work. So I think this is clearly a major developmental space for our field. The team is sort of split between people who do the early discovery, which is still a lot of basic microbiology, getting things into culture which nobody ever cultured in the past, and then sequencing them and understanding, what is the genetic basis for secondary metabolism. And this is fascinating on the basic science side of things, but then we also have a couple of projects which went through all this, which are mostly quite old, because the process takes very long, where we are in the, say, late preclinical stage, where compounds really are close to an application. And I wouldn't argue for one or the other. We need both, and both have their excitements. Well, we do some preclinical analysis, but a lot of this is done in public-private partnership with industrial partners or with CROs. So you can't do all of this, right? And when it comes to, say, later preclinical toxicology, safety pharmacology studies, this is something we can't do. Right? Also, the production of the compounds at GMP scale, you need partners. So this is impossible to do. But we try to at least partially close the gap between academic research and industry with moving our projects a bit further than what is typically done, which is absolutely necessary in the anti-infectives field. Because in other indication areas, you much easier get a connection to industry as the economic impact or the economic of the chances of the projects are much higher. So we as academic people need to push the anti-infectives, especially antibiotics projects, much further to be able to partner. And often we need public-private partnerships there. Yeah, this is twofold.
Yeah.
It's not just the natural products issue, it's also the antibiotics issue in general, where there is what we call market failure. Maybe I can start with this, because we as a society, we certainly have to value antibiotics better and see them much more as common goods than as something which pharma needs to make money with. So, it's like with the firefighters. Everybody is okay with paying for them, but nobody wants them to show up at your house, right? And the antibiotics, basically the same thing. You need to have it, but it needs to be somewhere where it's not taken away too often, and this contradicts the typical setting in pharma, where they need to make money. So as a society, we need to handle this. That's a large issue, which has been around for a while and which led to a situation where the companies that still develop antibiotics go bankrupt. So that's a big societal issue which we have to change in a way that we value the antibiotics and we come up with new regimens of reimbursing people who develop them. That's A. And B, it's natural products, where there's also a trend in larger pharmas not to have all the required capacities to do natural products, and therefore we are quite happy that with our institution we can go from early discovery into larger fermentation capacity, so we have the ability to move these compounds with all the pros and cons for natural products, which are fantastic tools made by nature, but not necessarily good compounds for human application. So it's always a mixture with chemists and moving and changing compounds.
I assume stability of the compound.
Yeah, pharmaceutical properties, they may well kill a pathogen, but be not good for application, right? And then you need to understand what do you have to change. Whether this is done by total synthesis or fermentation or semi-synthesis, I don't care. I want it to be successful. It's both. It's a fantastic recognition of the team's effort over the years. So I take this as a prize for the team and less for myself. And I think the team really highly appreciates this award and its dedication to Nobel Prize laureate Tu Youyou, who in the same year received the award with Omura Sensei, right? For me, this is especially intriguing because these are the two projects which got most of the recognition in the last decades for natural products. And we as a field, we certainly for our future need more success stories, right? They don't necessarily have to have a Nobel Prize, but we need some compounds that make it to the market or make it to an application to be successful also in achieving funding. So, and for this, I highly appreciate. Use your creativeness and do what you think you wish to do. I think this is the big advantage of being an academic researcher. You're not necessarily bound to the economics in a company. And with natural products, be stubborn. The best projects we have, they died or almost died several times, and then you need somebody who has this capacity to rethink, go back to square one, start it all over and overcome the hurdle. I think this is super important, and don't give up too early. You need people who tackle these issues, this interdisciplinarity, which is not necessarily mirrored with what we study early. I don't think this is for the people who get the reward next year, but for the early career researchers, get yourself set up for that mixture of abilities that you need. And I think for awardees, just really my message, we need to work on the translational path. Because we do fantastic basic research, but if out of the community there is no success that comes into application, we will have a hard time defending what we do. Quite often you hear the argument, yeah, but I need to publish, I need the high impact journal, blah, blah. No. We need to educate the next fantastic round of people, and we need to have some products. I wouldn't worry too much about impact factors. But that's easy to say once you've achieved a career stage where you have a permanent position. I completely understand.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Müller, for your time. And again, congratulations on winning the 2024 Tu Youyou Award.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you.